Can you hear me?
No, I don't know Martin.
Oh, thank you. I was gonna tell you who that was.
Oh,
So, Martin, I'm gonna introduce you after this meeting gets started, okay?
I like your usage of emojis.
Emojis.
Martin.
Yeah.
I've never played this.
Yeah, Patty's on her way, but if,
We
Rick,
have
if
to-
you want to start, I can take the notes until she gets here.
Oh,
We can
thank
fill
you.
her
That's
in.
nice of you. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started. My name is Rick Scholes, and I'm the chair of the committee.
I'm just Elizabeth Lynch, just a board member. I'm just
Not just.
no, I'm not on the committee, but I love this committee.
So there's typically two other folks here with us, but if you want to proceed with two folks, we can. This is pretty important information.
I think it's very important. You know,
Okay.
apparently Roger's not coming, or he's coming late, or
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
Uh,
So there was only one item on the agenda for this evening, which includes the health is it health and PE?
Yep.
It's health and PE curriculum. And that is going to take the bulk of the meeting today. I had two informational items that happened today that I thought would be helpful for this committee
Oh,
because of, it'll make sense.
good. Oh,
So the first one, and they're both under curricular, co-curricular. So if it's okay with you, I'd like to do those quick hitters before you get into the meat.
that sounds.
All right. So the first thing is that there was an out-of-state field trip request that was provided to me on Monday. I did not have all the information that I needed, but I got that today. And so I just wanted to inform you, I did talk with Roger and David about this in board leadership on Monday. And so I wanted to bring it to the attention of this committee as well. And I plan to put it on the board agenda for Thursday's vote. So what happened was the majorettes were contacted with an opportunity for our students to participate in the Relias Star Bowl. It's a bowl game in Florida, I believe.
Wow.
It replaces the Outback Bowl. So it's a
Wow.
really big bowl game and
Like
it
for next. like
for
next
January.
Oh,
Yes,
that's
for
cool.
January. So what that entails is it would need an out-of-state approval, out-of-state field trip request approval.
Sounds good.
So this field trip and this form says that out-of-state field trips are supposed, if they're paid by KCSD, that they have to be board approved.
Mhm.
We are not paying for anything. We're not asking for any dollars. But we said that we would support it administratively as an out-of-state field trip. All rules, school rules would be in effect.
Absolutely.
And this is a unique opportunity. So
They have to raise the money to go.
they would either have to
Okay.
raise or pay the money. And the reason I'm rushing this into this week's agenda is because the parents have to make a decision and put a down payment by June 1.
Oh, my
And so they
goodness.
would have fundraising opportunities. And if we waited until next month to approve it, there'd be a smaller window for them.
Mhm. Gives you a
So
little more time.
yes, so basically, they're asking if they could go. I have the packet with all of the information, the tour dates, what's included in the package. The package costs the families approximately $2,000 each plus travel expenses. But that includes 7 days
Expensive.
worth of stuff.
Oh, that's actually.
Oh,
Yeah,
that sounds
so-
really
Reasonable.
good.
Yeah, so December
they-
28th to
They'll go
January
by
3rd.
bus, or will
Parents are responsible for getting their students to the location in Tampa,
Oh.
Florida. There's practice and a dinner cruise one night. The next day there's practice and they go to Busch Gardens.
Oh,
The
wow.
fourth day there's practice, a beach day, a New Year's celebration.
I like the beach day.
There's a game day is on New Year's Day. There's a viewing party. They would be performing, I think, before the show and after halftime. They'd be part of the show on the field. This includes their uniforms, their tights and their shoes for the event. And then on the other 2 days, there's half days to Disney or Universal and then a departure day.
That's exciting for
Can we go?
the
So-
kids to be on the, well, they'll be on the field in front of
They
thousands
could
of
be,
people.
yes.
Yeah.
So
that's
this is not a
exciting.
requirement for any students to go, but it is an option. And our discussion, had to do with not all families could afford this, but fundraising opportunities would be available to them if they chose to do this, and parents must accompany their kids because
Wow.
they have to accompany them for the chaperoning.
Oh.
So
must be expensive.
Stephanie Ford has put out some information to them and asked for some, she's gathering. She has no idea how many people are going to commit. Of course, it depends on the board approval and of course the fundraising efforts, but they have to commit by July 1.
Sure.
So the fundraising, or I'm sorry, the field trip approval says 10 students, 11 chaperones. I get the extra one. I included Stephanie Ford because she would be going. But there would be no district funds responsible, and the students who go would end up needing an educational trip for just January 3rd. I believe that falls on a school day, 2024.
Sounds great. Yeah.
So in our
Uh,
discussion
Do
with
we
the
need
other,
a motion or
you
anything?
don't hear, I wanted to just make sure that you were aware of it because that I ran it through the committee of 1+. And so that Thursday night, when I give the quick rundown, because it was not on the agenda for the work session, that you would understand why it was a late addition to the agenda because of the timeliness of the fundraising.
Sure.
May I ask a question?
Well, please.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
on or not. So one employee is going and the rest are parents or chaperones,
Mhm.
and she's paying her own way?
That would be the responsibility of the group. They have a booster club.
Okay.
She may be paying some of it. I don't know who's paying for it. They're working on organizing it.
Okay.
So till it's done, there may be 3 kids that go, there may be 2 kids that go, there may be 5. She didn't suspect there would be more than 10.
Okay. Well, I hope that I mean, I know they work really, really hard. I know they do. I just hope that if she feels that there might be 1 or 2 students that for some reason, you know, if they need help financially, whether it's the foundation or the board or, I mean, bottom line, I just don't want any kid. to be-
Well, I would hate for a child, let's say there's a group, is this all girls, by the way? Majorettes? I shouldn't say
there
that,
might
'cause
be,
it could
there
be
might
male.
be, it may not be.
Yeah, I would just hate for, a whole group
Yeah,
that is
and
so close and then
that
one
was
or
our-
two have a really
Were you
Well,
tough
kids?
family
the booster
situation.
club will be responsible for helping them with their fundraising efforts and taking care of that. The question I thought you were going to ask is what grade levels,
Well,
because that
actually,
has come up
you know,
too.
I'm not asking the question, you know who's gonna answer
Yeah.
the question.
So I asked the question, it's 7th through 12th graders were invited on this, and I'm not sure if that was the instructor's decision or if that was the program age requirement. But either way, I support the 7 through 12 and not the 5-6.
Okay.
I think the skill level too of the 5-6 wouldn't necessarily, that may have come into play. I'm not sure.
And she knows best, but it just, when you're younger and you don't get to go, but you get to see the older kids go. I mean, I would see that also as a impetus to even try
It could be an
harder
incentive for
Incentive.
them to race.
Yeah.
Yeah,
more
but-
Because they
and to
know.
try for the
And-
next, the next when they're older,
Yeah. The conversation with the other folks that I talked to said, although we wish that anybody who wanted to could go in the financial thing, but we also didn't think it was appropriate to deny an opportunity for those who could go.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And as long as there was a fundraising opportunity, there was support.
Well, I think
So-
it's lovely.
The down payment, I don't know what the down payment is, but they've given the information to the parents.
Mhm.
Okay, well, just please keep us abreast. If there is a financial problem, that we should please know about it.
Well, I don't know if I'll know about it, but
Okay.
we can,
I'm assuming there's a payment plan.
that's
So
why there's a
sometimes
down
that's little
payment.
easier
Yes,
for-
and that they can spread their
families every
fundraising. This
month
isn't
or
until
something.
January or December. So
so
there's
they
a lot
have
of
some
time.
Sure.
They do.
Yeah.
They do. And so because it's 7 through 12, it's for Central Mountain High School and middle school. And I had not only the athletic director, but both principals sign. So if there were any
Good.
questions that they're aware, so that we
That's
took
great.
care of that today.
Good news.
Okay.
Good news.
Check that box. Second box for you tonight is at the policy committee. And Liz, you know this, we've been talking about policy 228 student government. And the student government policy was on the work session agenda and it's up for review, formal review Thursday night. One of the things we talked about at the policy committee meeting was the feedback from our students that our student government is not operating in the fashion that they believe it should be, and even in accordance with the policy being the student council is the official voice of the student body. So today I circled up with 2 students from Bucktail and 2 students from Central Mountain.
Great.
Martin Lewis is on here tonight because Martin Lewis is very interested in governance. And he joined me today for, and 3 other students. But anyway, more of that later. But we discussed, I had them review the policy and the ARs that were drafted by me, Nick, Dave, and Justin.
Great.
And the students, I took some notes on their suggestions, which were more granular than where we were going. So they wanted to go a little more granular, and they thought, just the process for electing the student council members wasn't spelled out, and they would like that spelled out.
Yes.
And they would also like that faculty input maybe should be part of it rather than just a student vote. And they feel that there should be maybe more of an awareness, or even possibly kind of like a job description for the roles and responsibilities of a student council member
Absolutely.
and the officers. So what they're asking for is really a lot of structure to something. And we also have been talking about getting arrangements for students to visit other schools to see their student government. If we can't visit before the end of the year, we'd like to at least get a Zoom meeting to share ideas. And what the students also brought up was that earlier today, when we were on with the legislator, we were on with Paul Takak. We missed you. But the students were in with me, and Bellefonte had 2 students, but their 2 students were introduced as their student government representatives.
Oh.
So I talked to the students, my students afterwards, what do you think about that? And they said, can we do that? And I said, well, the policy committee has been discussing, first, let's square this away and get student government functioning well, so that we can then look at a policy for having student reps on the board, so it will be a process and moving in that direction. And so I just wanted to give you an update on how active the students are being in this process. And it's not just a policy committee, because it is a co-curricular activity.
And there must be like a Pennsylvania Student Council conference
Mhm.
or something that we could
Yep.
send a group of students to.
I would love that.
Yes, I think some of them
Great.
have been going to that.
Okay.
But I think
So
if
we
we're
can
more
network a
organized and,
little.
so we're moving in that direction. I wanted to bring this back to you. And I also wanted to say that their request today was, can we do the second policy now? Because they don't want it to be forgotten. And I told them, as long as I'm here, we won't forget it. And the policy committee has directed me to move in that direction. So our goal is to get this formalized and ready to go and structured for the start of the school year. One of their questions to me was, do you think we could get it ready to have elections before we leave for the summer? Because they could start working on things over the
Absolutely.
summer, which is a great idea. What I don't know is if I can, with this couple weeks left of school, pull the principals together and get all of this and the job descriptions and all these pieces done to that level.
That's a lot to get done in this time.
To do it right. I don't
Yeah.
want to just do it to do it. So and then the question would be, would we have to wait a full year to implement the other policy? If this is working well in the first couple months of school, during next school year, could we move for student reps on the board? And so just to give you a timeline, the students that met with me today were Martin Lewis, Maddie Mason, Sophia Dressler, and Elise Seigan.
Oh, great.
And Elise and Sophia are in 11th grade.
Good.
And so if we were to move at least, if we could get something done by second semester of next school year, they could possibly still have an opportunity before they graduate. And Martin, who's online with us, and Maddie are 10th graders.
Oh,
Great,
thank goodness.
'cause that's the whole- yeah.
wow.
Yeah, what we didn't do is I haven't used the current student government officers to look at this. I've used the students who I've been working with on some other issues.
That's great.
Martin, just to let you know, I was student council president. Now, of course, that was back in the 70s, but
Can you use your mic so we can
I
hear you?
loved it. And
Can he be on
we
mute?
were very involved.
Martin, are you able to unmute? Oh, you're using there's a setting on these Zoom meetings, so you may not be able to.
Well, he knows
Yeah,
sign-
unmute themselves this turn. He can unmute himself. You should be able to anyway.
He said
Oh,
shoot.
X, big ol' X. No, we don't like X's.
Yeah, on your
You might
Zoom,
be able to unmute him.
it would be down in the lower left-hand corner where you see the mic. You can just click on the mic.
Here we go. I'm gonna
It's a
ask you,
setting on
Martin,
it.
to unmute. I just sent you an invitation to unmute.
Oh, good job.
Maybe.
I don't know if you can hear me or not, or if it'll go through.
Now we
There
can
you
hear you.
go.
Okay, sorry, I didn't have my microphone originally.
So I think that, I didn't know if there was any comments that you had to share from our meeting today with watching the advocacy efforts and, just discussing the student government as a co-curricular activity.
I don't really have any specific comments, just that I think the direction that we're heading now is really good compared to where we're starting from. So
So positive thumbs up for so far.
yes.
Okay.
The way our student council worked is every room in the building had to elect a delegate and an alternate delegate. And but we found attendance was always an issue. So we used to give incentives if they would attend. And I know that now they probably wouldn't do this today, but we gave McDonald's gift certificates.
Well, it's
If
possible if
they-
the student government elects to do that with their
And
funding.
that's what we elected to choose because McDonald's was right down the road and we had an open campus. You could leave campus
Yeah,
at
so
any,
we do.
now, and things of course have changed since then, but.
Yes,
So
good
we
luck.
had a good attendance, but obviously there was a fundraising arm, but there was things to do with policy on tobacco and things like that, because Martin, this is way in the past, but I grew up at a time when you were allowed to smoke on school property, and
Well, that is not in the health curriculum.
no, not in that. That ended at the school district I graduated from in '80, but we were allowed, and the student council actually ran the student lounge. You could sign out of study hall and go for a smoke.
Don't
And
take any,
study.
don't
I'm
listen to
just
the
telling
chair
you
here. Don't
history.
listen to the
This is
chair.
why things changed.
Well,
And
yes.
we had a soda machine and a pool table and foosball and all this kinds of thing. But you paid to play each of those, and then the money
Money
went
would
to
go.
student council.
Oh,
But it wasn't as obviously more and more evidence is coming around about tobacco. The school board and student council partnered on tobacco prevention and with the health and phys ed
Right.
teacher. So, but I just wanted to say, things have changed dramatically. I wanted to give you an example of those kinds of things.
So those were the two updates I had for curricular, co-curricular. Unless you had any other questions in that area, we'll turn it over to curricular.
no, super excited.
No, we're
Thank you very
very
much, Martin.
excited, Martin. I'm glad. I'm very pleased.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of careers, and if you're interested in health policy, there are tremendous careers in health policy. We have a graduate at Lock Haven. She got hired already. She's graduating with a public health ed degree, and she got hired by a company out of Philadelphia, and they're paying her relocation expenses first and last, her security first and last month, and her salary.
Wow.
In health policy, that's her field, and we took her to the National Health Ed Advocacy Summit, and so there are so many types of jobs in DC, Harrisburg, et cetera.
Thank you. May I just make one more comment?
Mhm.
Thank you. I'm hoping that, I'm a big fan of field trips, external trainings. So maybe when we're after you digest everything with the students, the principals, when we come back to the policy committee, I would like to see that we discuss something in the policy that the board supports external trainings for these groups. So however it gets, you know what I mean? So it's
For the students.
right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So just a little bug. Okay. Thank you very much.
And there are lots of good opportunities for student trainings out there. And I think we take advantage of some of them, but
Yeah, but I'd
Yeah,
like to see it in
more.
writing. So when we're all gone, still going.
Agreed.
Is there, just out of curiosity, it's kind of related to student council, is there SAD?
There
Uh,
was.
No,
We don't
'Cause
have an
that-
active SAD
Not that we have
chapter,
an
I don't
because that
Right
believe.
could
now.
relate to the safety and security issue. Cause you know, it used to be just drunk driving and now
Yeah.
it's all kinds of issues. So
Yeah, destructive decisions, yeah.
I,
I don't,
I
yeah.
would
Has
fully
there historically
support
been a
that.
chapter here?
It's been years.
Yeah,
years and
yeah.
years,
And
long time.
I think there's just so many issues we could work on. with SAD.
That would be interesting if the student council decides that that's something they want to look at too, is the clubs, just to, maybe they'll have an interest there to help whatever it is. I mean, they could go so many different ways. Anyways, I'm super excited. Thank you. Thank you. I'm done. We gotta stop talking.
Oh, sure.
This is not an agenda item, but this is just a invitation that actually came up today too. So actually, Jackie, this is for you too, because I didn't get to give you one. Elizabeth, you would probably remember this, but last spring, we, through this committee, proposed working with Penn State in technically they're called the Holocaust Genocide and Human Rights Initiative, remember? But we, what the focus of the professional learning
Exciting.
initiative was to work with a cohort of teachers all year long on fostering their skills to
Seems like 10
use
years ago.
inquiry-based learning to teach difficult topics.
Great.
And so if you remember, probably about the same exact time last year, we really talked through what this opportunity would be for our teachers. And really it comes down to them working collaboratively all year together to think about how to implement inquiry-based learning in their classrooms. And we had our final professional development session today. And at our May meeting, they are all going to give a little presentation of what they've learned.
Oh,
Um,
good. I'm
and
excited about that.
We
Yeah.
wanted to invite you, if you're able, it's May 9th at 12:30. And it's gonna be here in the boardroom and the
What day of
teachers
the
are gonna,
week is that?
it's a Tuesday.
Because I think that's our finals.
It is
Well,
finals
fine.
week.
As long as I don't finals,
I
Okay.
will do everything possible to be. there.
And I think often in our conversation today, we showcase students, we showcase student work, but we don't often showcase teacher work
Mm-mm.
and all of
Never.
the hard work that the teachers have put in this year. And they've learned so much and they've grown so much as a community of learners together. There's a lot to be proud of. And I know I'm proud of them, so I would love to kind of highlight them
Thank you.
as teachers and what they've done. So if you're available, we would love to have you.
Okay, are you gonna have Zoom or is it gonna be recorded or?
I don't know if we'll record. If I'm being honest, it's sometimes really vulnerable.
Okay, sure, I
Because
get
they're
it.
gonna talk through like what they did and what went wrong and how sometimes they have to
Okay.
fix it. And I don't know if they'd be comfortable
I-
necessarily streaming that.
I understand. I understand. No, I get it. I get it.
But
Nope. It's a shame because I'd love it if you could do, or maybe internally you could have it. And
Yep.
then someone in IT or maybe the student teacher could make little highlight clips.
Yep.
And you could maybe post it or something.
And something that we're doing for this event is they're each bringing a +1. So they're going to reach out to a colleague that they think might also be interested in diving into inquiry-based learning. That way we could maybe run it again next year with these new people who have generated interest based on the interest that was developed this year.
Oh, that's
So they're bringing a +1, somebody that they think will be interested. And we just want to highlight the work that they've done this year.
this is incredibly great news.
It was voluntary.
Yes, absolutely voluntary, just
Wow.
by this is something they wanted to dive into and they've committed a lot of time to it and
One of
it's
the-
been fantastic.
One of the folks from Penn State that works with this was a former colleague of mine, and I have the utmost respect for her. And I think that, when I see her here working with our people, it just makes me really happy because I know she's such a high quality educator, and having her support for people to follow inquiry-based learning. And it's just amazing. So I'm glad that we've partnered with them for this.
Will any of their representatives be?
They will be. here.
Great, so we
Yep,
can thank them. Okay, thank you.
yep, they will be here
Great.
and we're talking already next year kind of about a two-pronged program where they continue to work with the teachers that have been in the program this year. but they want to do a little bit more like co-teaching with them in the classroom when possible, facilitating activities with kids that are inquiry-based and working with them in that way. And also facilitating a new cohort next year.
Is
So-
there lunch?
There is lunch.
Oh, okay. I wondered because it's 12:30.
Yeah, so all you need to do is let me know if you're coming,
Okay.
and then I will count you in for lunch.
That's wonderful.
So that was just an
Just
informational item
email-
that came up today that I was like, let
Just
me get.
email you
Yeah,
that we're coming?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yep, I should have put it in a Google form. I just didn't have time.
No. This is wonderful news, Megan. Wonderful news. I can't wait till it gets expressed publicly.
Yeah. Well, and that's something they mentioned today. They're like, teachers don't often get good press. And I was like, well, maybe we should write
Well,
up something
we've
for
talked
this.
about
and-
that
You
for
do want
years.
to write it out.
There's
Yeah.
been so
Yeah.
much going on, but we've
Yep.
always, when Randy was here, I mean, that was something, that we always wanted to do.
Yeah.
Have it.
And I think that's a national problem, that's not different here than it is anywhere else. It's just, we need to do better at highlighting all the awesome things teachers are doing every day.
Yeah.
So, all right, so let's get down to business. So Dawn Mansfield is here. Dawn is our department leader for K-12 Health and PE. So we have been working since this time last year.
Well, yeah.
Um,
At least.
at least,
Yeah.
to work to develop health and PE curriculum that would be aligned to the new Pennsylvania outcomes. So it's been a process. I did share the outcomes with you guys, I think last month. I shared the folder of
Yes,
the
you did.
proposed outcomes. PDE is still working through kind of final adjustments to those. We know that in PDE land, that sometimes takes a really long time. But we forged forward on aligning our curriculum to the new proposed standards. And we were really one of the first districts to jump in
Very nice.
and work.
And they would
So-
like us to pilot the program of when they outpour these and finally, okay them and approve them, that we're one of the first districts that will be using them right away.
Great.
I would like the public to, I mean, me personally, I would
Mm.
love the public to know that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it's a
that's-
great opportunity of us, or to show how, we're on the forefront of this, and
Please.
we were one of the first to get there, and I think that's really something to be proud of. So we had a small committee working over the last year. There were certainly more people who attended sometimes, but this was our consistent, steady team. And with Dawn's relationships with Dr. Adela and Dr. Allen at Lock Haven, they were actually on the committee at the state level to develop the new health and PE outcomes. So they were an amazing resource.
They're actually the ones that created it.
Yeah, they were the ones who created it. So what an awesome resource to have in our backyard. So they came in, they walked us through it, they talked to us, shared, the work that they did, but also the intent behind it, which I think was a really important step. And so we kind of learned from the creators, which was a really cool opportunity. So I
Gotcha.
thought
I
that-
mean,
Okay.
Sure.
I don't like doing this, but I've done this to Megan before and it's never personal, okay? Just, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because but for Dr. Cindy Allen, I think they'll probably want to see Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Oh, you're right.
mark.
Yep.
Okay, and I know I understand this is more for an online versus a print publication, but when we print these things at home to do, I just want to just give you a heads up. It does use up a lot of ink and then, but I just wanted to. Okay, so on
I think we
pages,
can show you
You
too
can-
some different ways of printing, because you can do
print
like
it
a
out to multiple
little
slides on a
thumbnail.
page.
oh,
We can show
okay.
you how to do
Yeah,
that.
on,
Yeah,
you can do them.
yeah.
And if
Oh,
you would
okay.
prefer that we print them for you here, we can.
No,
do that
no, no,
too.
no, no, no. I just wanted for, no big deal. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, go ahead. Yep, go ahead.
All right. When we were creating these and like as a department, when we would have our in-services, like when you look at the curriculum that we've always had curriculum that is like focused on sport or activities that deal with sport. They deal with the roles, the infractions, the dimensions of the fields, things like that.
Yep.
This 100% paradigm shift away from that, like 100%. what you do is you actually use activities in sport to get health related fitness and skill related fitness. So agility, coordination, balance, reaction time, cardiovascular endurance, muscular strength, I did say coordinated body composition, all of those is what the focus is. And you use activities to be able to, increase or enhance whatever's, health related skill or skill related fitness that they do. So that we're also combining it, and no longer, it's not physical education, it'll be wellness.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to find when you look at the standards that during the units, it's most of the questions are social emotional learning, or the standards are for social emotional learning. They're helping with violence prevention. They're going to help with mental health, dealing with others, getting along with others, and then how you interact with people during sports. Because if you find a sport you want to do, you're going to delve into it. You're going to Google search it. You're going to learn all the stuff that we've always taught for all these years that we just now are no longer needed. And now we're going to teach, all right, if you're in this sport, this is how you act. This is how you treat others. This is how if you don't get your own way on a call, this is how you perform or, act. So it's a huge paradigm shift that way. So then with the health class, we're no longer doing body systems. So body systems have always been done. Science is now going to do the body systems. So we aren't going to be teaching body systems. We're going to get into the things according to like the PACE survey. You familiar with that?
What's up?
Pennsylvania Youth Risk Survey.
What, huh?
It's a statewide survey that's done every 2 years across Pennsylvania. Our students participated in that, and we shared some of that data at the comprehensive planning meeting.
It's called what?
PACE, it's Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania
Yeah.
at Ruth Risk
At
Survey.
Youth
Youth
Risk
Risk.
Oh,
Survey.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, now I remember.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's basically that one. If you remember some of our highlights where like we had low religiosity.
Yeah.
Basically what are your risk and protective factors in your community that either protect youth from, partaking in destructive behavior
Right.
or, and so we really analyze that data to look at what are national trends, but what are local trends, right? What are the issues that we're seeing and
Affect us here.
affect us here? And I think probably the most alarming thing that we saw in that data was that as early as third grade, some of our students were showing signs and symptoms of mental illness and thoughts of suicide,
Yeah.
thoughts of harming
Suicidal
themselves,
ideation.
ideation. So we really looked at that data to say, so what do we need to do at K-1-2 to have some conversations and put some skills in their toolbox of how to deal and how to cope so that they are skilled not only in physical capabilities, right, but also socially, emotionally, mentally, because that's what our local data is showing us. So it's really important that we use that data because that's what our kids are
That's what they're experiencing.
experiencing.
So emotional literacy. In
Yes.
other words, yeah.
Mm.
Sure, but you
Thank you.
don't need to raise your hand.
Well, yes, well, technically I'm supposed to ask the
Oh,
chair if I
okay.
can ask a
Please,
question.
just-
I know, but every time I
Send
step
them
out of
on.
line.
Oh, stop. That's uncalled for.
I'm sorry, what?
Go ahead.
You're not stepping out of line.
So I don't know how the chair feels about this. I wish I had another board member to but just think about this I think that would be so helpful to the rest of the board and the public and also the employees to know, like, I didn't read that in your report, that you not only are following what you have to follow by the state, but you are customizing it to the culture that's here. So how, not details or whatever,
Mhm.
but
That's part of the process that we approve for curriculum development.
right, but
And-
when she's giving the presentation or Don, just to
Yeah.
that this isn't just another one of these static.
Right, we use that data intentionally to
Yes,
design.
however
curriculum.
you
Yeah.
know to best, that would be
Yeah.
lovely. I think
So
that
in
would
other
help.
words, if you're
I will present this to the board.
just talk about how you're
How we use the
using
data.
local
What
data
that-
and
So just to
translating
give you a little bit of an
research.
idea, because Rick, this is your first time through a curriculum presentation. Whenever we bring curriculum forward, they're following policy 107. And it's very specific to what the board's role is. And so what they're doing now is we run any curriculum approvals to that go to the full board through here first. Elizabeth, one good example, when you were on this committee was the FCS. we brought some stuff forward. You guys had some questions, went back and reworked some things and then came back, kind of gave this presentation to the committee for feedback. If you have suggestions for changes or, accolades, that's good for them to know, because then the next step is once we feel this is prepared to go to the full board, it would go to the full board for
Mhm.
approval and then the process. So if,
And we would do an iteration of this at the full board meeting as
Sure,
well, if that's what the
sure.
committee wanted us to do.
Oh, absolutely. Great.
Anything else for kind of just, I think Dawn hit on most of this, but really just the shift away from the sports focus to the
Yes.
focus on, skills to be kind, healthy, resilient, and productive society, members of society. That's what matters in 2023 and beyond.
plus it's aligned with the school district's vision and mission.
Absolutely.
This is great news. Great news.
You kind of covered a lot of this
Yeah,
too,
I
but
did.
again, just transitioning away from the outdated, moving to a skill and standard-based curriculum that emphasizes health-related and skill-related skills and
Physical
tactics.
literacy, yeah.
Physical literacy
Mhm.
is really is what we're aiming to create health literate and physically literate students.
Are you going to be quick question, Chair?
Yeah.
DCNR it hasn't been publicly announced yet. DCNR just finally, waiting 20 years, finally have a new position here at Sproul State Forest for a recreational forester. And I spoke to the woman today, and she's going to take her months to get to where she needs to be. This is a new position. But I guess someone at Bucktail has already reached out to her. So when I was reading this and I saw outdoor adventures and
That's
pursuits
exactly
and
what it is.
snowshoeing, I'm just gonna say that staff member is there to partner with school districts. And it's gonna take her a while. She just started Tuesday. But I mean,
That's a great resource.
huge.
So is that person for the county?
Sproul State Forest.
Sproul State
Any,
Forest?
any school district that's within Sproul State Forest, they're about 60% of our county.
Okay, that's good to know.
land-wise.
Thank you for that. And if
Yes.
you would happen to. think of it,
Angela
could
is her
you send-
name.
Okay, could you send me maybe her contact?
Sure,
That would be
yeah,
great.
I would, yeah, she's gonna be fun.
Yeah, so we definitely have a focus on, different types of activities than we all probably did in gym class as students, right? We no longer have a unit on volleyball, but we have a unit that's focused on skill development, interweaving the social skills, the health literacies and the physical literacies.
My favorite was crab ball. Do you remember crab ball?
Dodgeball.
I don't think I've heard
smacked
that
in the
one.
head.
Yeah, we used to
How
do
many more
crab,
slides
had a
do you
whole
have?
unit on crab ball. I thought that
Hi,
was the
Roger.
best thing since
Hello.
sliced bread.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember. I enjoyed
Not
that
as
as
fun
well.
as
Going through the
dodgeball, though.
First iteration of the health
But
curriculum.
that has its own.
That's a separate.
So,
conversation.
Just
as-
back,
oh, sorry, go
I
ahead.
was just a quick question back on risk factors.
Mhm.
And I know you probably won't remember the exact, but in terms of our student body, do you even remember a ballpark on obesity rates or overweight status or?
That's a really good question. I don't want to give you an answer because I don't
I
remember
didn't
the
even know the
exact
ballpark,
information, but I do know when we wrote the PEP grant back, it was as high as 37%.
Wow.
So, but since then, of course, we have our fitness centers and we have, other things that we've been working on that have decreased that somewhat, but there still is, definitely a risk for obesity and inactivity as well.
Mhm.
So a part of the curriculum development process in general, no matter what the content area is that we often work to establish some goals as a department before we even begin the work. Like, what are we doing now that's really working? What are things that we're not doing that we would like to improve? Looking at the standards, okay, where we went ahead. And so the department kind of developed these goals.
Yeah, we have these goals, the physical literacy outcomes we have that. Please remember that we are not allowed to expose any of those standards until they are passed. Like, we cannot let them go public until they're actually passed, and then we'll be okay with that. We are going to, as I said before, we're going to combine into a wellness program. So when you're in physical education, you're going to be learning, health skills as well as physical skills. And we're also going to increase choice in what types of activities you participate in so that students can showcase their skills and get something they enjoy, which would hopefully is going to decrease discipline issues as well. We call it selective PE. And do you want me to explain it now or do you want me to wait?
We can, yeah, I think it's the next slide, so.
Okay, so selective P, well, and then the family-centered curriculum storyboards, these are the storyboards. This is what the public will see.
Mhm.
So the first you have the image just to kind of catch your eye. And then what the unit focus is, it's kind of like a story. It's a storyboard for a reason. They're telling a story of what you're going to do. So what qualities, do you need to be a good citizen in your school to start the year off? Every unit 1 we have K through 12 is going to be cooperative skills and positive behavior. Every unit 2 we have is going to be personal fitness. Every unit 3 is going to involve movement concepts and performance. And every unit 4 will be motor skills. Do they have to be in that exact order? Not necessarily, but just the idea that K through 12, you have just those 4 units, and then we use different activities and different health skills learned to complete these stories. So this is what
that was the first unit of cooperative skills and positive behavior was really intentional, coming, off of conversations about behavior and safety. We want to reinforce our PBIS systems at every chance that we get. And so now through the health and PE design process, every unit begins with reinforcing what are the school expectations, what are the classroom expectations, how does this fit into our positive behavior support plan. And then additionally, if you remember a few years ago, Roger, you would probably remember, we start every social studies unit as well, connecting the idea of what does it mean to be a good citizen to being a good citizen within our school. So you can see we're trying to start the year off really strong with connecting all of these content areas to how does this impact you being a good citizen within our classroom, within our school, and within our community. Because I think that's really important. If we expect it, we need to teach it.
And it totally reinforces our PBIS system as well, especially unit 1.
So these storyboards, I think we've talked to you a little bit about these, but this would be kind of a new layer to the curriculum process that didn't exist before, but really trying to connect students and families to our curriculum in a way that's accessible for them. Because the way that we did it before, we just had those curriculum maps, right? But the audience for those are teachers. And we really want to do a better job of communicating to students and families what they're learning, why they're learning it, and how it's interconnected from unit to unit. So we will work, that's kind of part of the next steps. I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but we will work to develop a storyboard for every single course in health and PE so that this is something that can be publicly shared with families and students so that we're just doing a better job of communicating what they're learning.
If I see a typo, do you want me to say it or not?
Sure.
Okay, it's no biggie. Just on your first column, unit 1, the very last where you're, just that, it does print that way too.
Oh, you know
The
why? It's because
buck.
I took a screenshot of it.
Oh, okay.
That adventurous. My cursor was there and I took a screenshot. That's
I was
exactly
won-
what that
I was
is.
gonna say, it looks like.
A line. Yeah. Because I didn't want to link it in, so I screenshotted it.
No.
That's a really good catch though.
That is
Yeah.
tuned for detail. But also on the storyboard then would also be information about activities that could be done during that unit to focus in on those skills. And obviously we wouldn't be doing all of these activities. It would be student choice and student driven.
That's great that they have a choice.
And so Dawn's going to get into, can go ahead and do this frameworks and then the selective PE. I think we kind of already covered this one for basic units.
Yeah.
So select wellness, Dawn.
Okay, for select wellness, what you do is like if there are 3 teachers that are scheduled in the gymnasium or, at the same time, they're going to offer 3 different activities. So it still would be unit 1, unit 2, unit 3, unit 4.
Mhm.
And ahead of time, right, they would let the students know ahead of time the learning targets that they want for each one of those. So that way they know what it is expected of them. And then also what standards they're going to try to, achieve. And then also even the assessment, like how they're going to be assessed. So sometimes it's on decision-making, sometimes problem solving, whatever it may be. The final assessment then, you will see that they match right up to our understanding and essential questions that are in our big curriculum and that we see. And then the students choose which activity out of the 3 that they like. The teachers then reorganize the students. So like one teacher will be teaching pickleball And then self-defense martial arts is, on there, and dance. So they choose out of those three. So if you have someone that really does not hit a ball very well, they're not going to choose pickleball, but they certainly could do self-defense if they like to be stationary, not move much, or they may enjoy dance. So, and it doesn't mean these three are going to be the
Yeah.
three that are offered. It just means these are examples.
That's what I was kind of
These are
wondering.
examples.
Yeah, there's
Because,
examples.
with the things we got going on right now is martial
Self-defense.
arts.
Yeah, it would not be.
Yeah,
That's-
I'm just.
We could
you
change
know.
that. Yeah, no, we could change
Well,
that.
but
Well,
self-defense
there-
skills are important.
No,
Right.
but I think you're thinking of kung fu or whatever. No,
Oh,
it's the
no, I
whole
know what
idea
I'm
of how to
thinking.
Yeah.
stand still. I mean, a friend of ours does jujitsu with a world-class person over there in Bellefonte. And she's in grade school here, and it's helped her incredibly, the focus, respect. So when you see martial arts, everyone I think thinks, no, it's the mental game.
Right. Understood.
So I don't know how, if you have to
I-
reword that for Roger or how
Well,
you're
no,
just.
no,
don't-
what
please don't.
I'm saying, okay, I understand what you're getting at, but what I'm saying, okay, is anything that is being used, okay, that we're teaching,
Mhm.
okay, that's something that can be taught outside the school. There are dojos and all that other stuff outside of here. We don't need to be teaching that, because if we do that and someone utilizes what we are being taught or what we are teaching in the school,
It would not be that.
No, it wouldn't be like
I'm
physical.
just-
Yeah.
It would be balance. It would be
That's what I'm
agility.
yeah,
It would be
you
movement,
folks
it
know
would
the
be-
you
right
can do
word.
yoga.
Well,
Well,
but that's,
well,
and
yeah,
that's
we
a whole
can't- yeah.
different.
I'm
that's a
just
whole
saying.
different- Yeah,
But I think one of the most important things to remember about select wellness classes is that, we're still maintaining focus on the learning targets of this particular unit, which for unit 2 might be personal fitness. And they could choose from a variety of activities that the teachers are then going to kind of do in stations.
mhm.
And the kids get to pick what station I go to based on my personal interest. So if I don't like team competitive sports, I don't go to team competitive sports. I go to
That's
the yoga
wonderful.
option or the,
I feel like we're in the
CrossFit.
21st century.
CrossFit option.
That's
Yeah.
getting there.
Yeah.
Can I also tell about
Yep.
okay, and then also we're going to be purchasing something for every unit 2. We have fitness development. We're going to have every student grade 7 through 12 get what's called a platform app. It's capital P, capital L, capital T, the number 4, capital M.
Tracks.
Platform. It's going to track them from 7th through 12th grade. It's very, very affordable. And it's $1 per student and $1,200 overall per year. So you add all that up, what it offers everything. It offers nutritional information, mindfulness, yoga, and weight training, fitness training. It's Tabata, it's HIIT, it's anything you can imagine all in one spot. And the students will access that. It shows them workouts. Like if they're in baseball, it'll spit out, here's a good baseball workout for upper body, lower body, overall body. Teachers can customize it. You can create, mini challenges. There's leaderboards that you can see at every single time, every step of the way of who's, actually getting in for attendance. All right. So it's not necessarily, oh, I lifted 3,000 pounds. It is, hey, you've attended 10 fitness workouts in a row of HIIT. That's impressive. That's hard to do. That's a good job. So there's the kind of leaderboards that you see. So the competition isn't, I'm better than you, I'm bigger than you. It's, hey, I'm more dedicated or committed. Here's my commitment. Join me in this commitment. So that it's an amazing app, really good. And then I know I shouldn't say this and toot my own horn, but I also have written, if anyone has an in with the Keystone Foundation, Keystone Center Foundation, I've written an $1,800 grant for any employee in the district, whether you're a janitor or the superintendent, to have the same access to that. So we can have some common language amongst the teachers and the students, and we
Would
can
you
develop
come-
relationships that way and make.
So
Would you
let's-
come to a foundation meeting?
Well,
and
we would
then-
have to
I've-
first,
or
we would have to first talk to the executive director, but if you already submitted the grant, Elizabeth and I, oh, you haven't submitted it
I
yet.
have it
You have it
ready
ready to
and
go.
signed, but
Okay.
I
Well,
don't want to go over it. one more
They
time.
actually go over the grants with me, and then Elizabeth is also on the board. And so I
Great.
don't know if you're on that committee, but they did just call
Mm.
for people to review the mini grants.
Yeah.
So we do have a connection.
And that is eventually, Elizabeth and Roger, you'll know this, like part of the curriculum approval process, right? Is that you approve the written curriculum and then we look at resources. So that would eventually be a resource that supports the curriculum that we would ask for
That
your
would be
approval of.
fantastic. And
We're
people
kinda
will
ahead of the
donate
game
for
on
that
No, it's
too.
okay, yeah.
If that was a line item and the public knew, they would donate specifically for this. I know they would, when they're approached at the right time.
Yeah, it's very affordable.
Anything else?
Okay, I have to ask. Are we getting horses?
Yeah, we're gonna have a stable
Yeah.
out back.
Okay, that's what I'm wondering, because I mean, you got jousting down here.
Wow, but do you know what jousting is? You take a
Yeah, it's
pole.
where you got two guys on a horse running at each other with the poles and, yeah, that's jousting.
It's taking a pole noodle and then trying to knock someone off their balance without hurting them.
It's balance. It's a skill of balance.
It's a
No.
balance
No
skill.
horses.
No horse.
No
no
horses,
sharp
no
objects.
no joust.
No equestrian center being
impalements,
added to the
No
No
facilities.
knights.
No knights, no
yeah,
armor.
Okay,
Zero armor. We can
Alright.
take those off there. That's fine. But yeah, it's pole
Don't-
noodles
You
trying to.
could go
lead
to a
them.
field trip to
I mean,
medieval,
I-
whatever, down at Mount
yeah,
Hope or-
yeah, Mount Hope, exactly.
And, our, another goal that I don't think that we explicitly talked about, but, we have such amazing natural resources right here.
Mhm.
There's great hiking opportunities, kayaking, canoeing, fly fishing, amazing opportunities
Mhm.
that you could walk to for most of our buildings. And part of this process has been, how do we really capitalize on the beauty and the resources that are right here? Are you gawking at, why are you saying, why do you make
What
that
do you
face at
see?
me for saying
What'd you
beauty?
find?
Fort building?
Mhm.
Come on.
But here's the thing, we're not gonna be doing all these things with all the
I
students.
get it. I'm just like.
The
looking at
goal-
these, I'm
It's
like,
all about dexterity and thought
Do you-
and,
do you
you know.
Critical thinking skills.
Yeah.
Fort- You'd be surprised at Fort, but if I gave you, remember the old mats that fold up in fours?
Right.
If I gave you 10 of those and I said,
Oh, I
build a
could build a
fort.
rock and, I mean, I could. I'm just, you know.
The students actually love building forts and things like that and tunnels and you just give them 10 mats
I
and
could do
and
that
let
with
them
the
problem
pillows
solve.
and the
and
things off the couch.
It takes a lot of strength, it
Yeah,
takes
but-
There's
teamwork.
also a
there's
lot of
to it.
things that are in our profile of a learner, when you
Yes.
assign activities like this that are aligned to that and those skills and higher critical thinking skills and collaboration skills that they have to use and communication. So
Yeah, I'm just
Absolutely.
seeing these things and I'm thinking,
I think
what?
I'm
Yeah,
just relieved that we're not seeing a traditional PE curriculum from the 80s.
Yes.
Volleyball unit,
From the
soccer
50s.
unit.
Come on.
From the
That
50s.
is like
No,
so cool.
Seriously, no, from the 50s into the 90s, it was always the same.
Well, there was actually in the mid 80s, and you remember, Dawn, we were in college the same time. There were school districts who got innovative grants for physical education. And it was about putting team sports in middle school, elementary and middle school. So skill building, then team sports, and then lifetime activities only in secondary.
Right.
And so it's been that way since the 80s. That was innovation in the 80s. And Williamsport School District was one of the districts that had the grant, and they had the canoeing and bicycling and roller skating, and they had all the equipment to go with those activities. And I student taught there. And so it was a very different experience, which also led to some very creative curriculum work over the last 33 years. So it's such a relief to see a curriculum that not only is just departmentalized, but it also is integrated completely with the comprehensive plan, the overall goals of students, and the whole child. So I just want to say thank you for everything that you've done with this process.
I'm sorry, guys.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Okay. It's too soon. It's too soon, but I just want to put a bug in your ear. I have been requesting and I'm still going to keep requesting on the facilities committee that we have a line item for landscaping. And one of the things that's always been back here, and maybe at some point, that when I see the kids walking around in a circle in the sun, no shade,
Mhm.
we have no shade for these kids. And like you're talking about the experience of the woods and this and that, maybe someday, the landscaping might coordinate with the vision that this is building on. Okay,
That'd be great.
Point of interest, there is a landscaping budget in the general fund budget under property services.
I never knew that.
Well, we discussed at the facility committee meeting, and it's not a separate line item in the comp plan. It's just part of our annual.
Oh, no, I meant a line item in the 10-year plan. So, but anyways, that bugs out. Okay, thank you.
No, that's great. Thanks.
So our next steps, after the units are board approved, what we will do next is design authentic project-based end of unit assessments for each unit. And those would be common across everybody who teaches, Wellness 9 would deliver the same assessment at the end of every unit to provide that consistency. We're going to create the curriculum storyboards for every course. So we provided you an example of the 9th grade wellness course, but we would work to create that for everything. We're going to begin selecting resources. We are already in talks of a lot of good things that we think can support this as we've been working. And then we're going to begin some professional learning for the health and PE department for implementation, hopefully next school year. There is that element of professional learning to make sure that, you can have nice things written on paper, but we have to make sure that we support them to implement this pretty drastic change. And so we need to make sure we provide the supports for them to be able to do that well.
I think the other piece that goes with that implementation is the training of the administrators who are
Yes.
doing the observations.
Yeah.
Because if they don't know
Right.
what the new curriculum and the new expectations are, it's gonna be difficult for them to provide the level of support from that level. So I just want to make sure that that's part of our plan moving forward in the details.
Absolutely. And that's all we have for you. But you
Thank
can
you.
access all the units
Mhm.
through the link that Patty attached to the agenda. But those would be the units that we'd be seeking approval on so that we can take the next steps in the process.
Do we have a one-page summary potentially, or just a shorter page summary of all? Like, almost like, if you look at, I don't know if you've had a chance to look at our curriculum documents and our layout. We follow an understanding by design process,
Mhm.
the J. McTighe, backward design. So again, there's very specific pieces to the unit, which is basically 3 stages. The unit description is here. And then we have the stage 1 learning goals and kind of like all the nitty gritty and the details.
Mhm.
But each one of those is like a 2-page, at least a 2-pager. I wonder, would it be helpful if we have it yet, a document that states kindergarten, health, wellness, the unit title, maybe just the unit description, in almost kind of like a table of contents type quick access guide. And then if you wanted to go to that template, right now it's in a Google file. I looked at it, and when was developing curriculum, it's almost too overwhelming for everybody to go and to click on each document. But if you can kind of see, when you lay out the topics and the unit focus, you can kind of see the scope and sequence that you spent so much time putting together, kind of come to life. So I feel like before we take this to the full board for approval, which are you anticipating May?
Whatever the committee is
When you're
comfortable with.
ready.
Yeah, I think we're
Yeah,
ready.
oh, I think whenever you're
Okay.
ready. If
I
it's
think May would be
fine. If
great
not,
because then
yeah.
we could begin, having further conversation about resources and spend our
Mhm.
summer doing some
Mhm.
professional development, I think,
When are you planning on implementing?
next year.
In the fall.
So just out of curiosity, so if looking at all of your activities, which are incredibly diverse, so I'm trying to think of, so a student for all these activities, it would always be in the gymnasium, you might have several at a time, or would a student say, for this many weeks, I choose yoga, or this many weeks, I choose pickleball, or
Yeah.
the bocce?
So,
Yes.
yeah, if you
Or-
place yourself, place yourself in the gym, you, like, if we're doing a unit 3 motor activity, okay? So just one of those would be, well, maybe it is a sport in the gym. Then maybe it's yoga in the wrestling room. Maybe it's in the fitness center doing the platform app, dealing with something with your motor skills to improve those. Maybe it's bocce outside.
Mhm.
So like,
But students are selecting and not changing every day. So
Yes,
I'm not going
they're
to play
staying
pickleball
there.
So how
today.
many weeks are they in a typical?
they're with every day for, every other day for, it depends on their schedule and,
Mhm.
what schedule we come up with. But if it's every other day for half a year,
Oh, I
okay,
see.
you have 90 classes. So they're probably going to be anywhere from 5 to 6 classes per unit.
That's a great.
Yeah, yeah.
I think the choice is what, not
choice is
every
more
child
important, yeah.
is forced to take. I mean, they get a smattering of everything in the younger grades, and so they should be able to start having choices about where they want to explore and go. But I think if you feel the content is solid and ready to go and you've perused it, I think we should take it forward in May, just because if there are any changes suggested from the full board for redesign or revisiting or questions, I would like time for that to be addressed and then potentially formally approved in time so they can stay on schedule for supporting.
Mhm.
I mean, they've been working on it for a year, which it
That
takes
makes sense.
at
yeah.
least a year. And I think that to understand, I can work with you on
Yeah,
what
and we've
that
done that
looks like.
for other content areas. So I think we could, Dawn and I could do that this
I
week.
think
at
it's
some
just an
point.
easier to understand and see all the pieces.
How many HPE teachers are in the district? 15?
15.
Yeah, so at the elementary level, our K4 students have health and PE 2 days out of the 6-day cycle. And then beginning in 5th grade, it's marking period or every other
Every other
Um,
day for half a year.
for half a year,
And then,
semester based once they get to the high school.
Right.
Every year they have it for.
Integrated all the way up. though.
Yes,
So
yes.
I think
it,
that's
you know,
another thing
that's-
that's super important as to why this is, it's not one or the other.
Mhm.
It's an integrated approach to teaching health concepts with active movements and lifestyle. And I think that it's important for people to understand the whole purpose. And you did a great job explaining that, but so many people misunderstand the purpose of physical education and health.
They really
And
do.
so I love the way that you've integrated this. I believe it'll be a model curriculum for many others around the state with the new standards.
Absolutely.
And do
Absolutely.
you anticipate of any of your 15 teachers, I don't know their age or when they were trained in school, for any of them, will this be a radical shift, or for some of them, it'll
It will be a
not,
radical
it'll just
shift.
be.
It'll be a
Oh,
radical
Yeah.
shift.
For internally, it's not a radical shift from what's been happening externally. We've had selective PE. My goodness, I had selective PE as at Penns Valley as a principal in our curriculum there. And when we did a curriculum rewrite, and then I was involved with a curriculum rewrite in my previous district too, and we had selective PE and voice and choice there. And also a lot of project-based assessments. I mean, asking someone to tell you the dimensions of a court for
Yeah.
what reason, you can look it up. And so it's
Exactly.
really the transfer of skills, knowledge and understanding and skills that they can be used independently for the rest of their lives to live a healthy lifestyle. So
If you can Google it, we didn't use it.
Yep.
Mhm.
And that's the situation.
And I think the power of having 15 is that they can really collaborate and work together, because it is going to be, a shift from where we are, which will require work, especially the first year, right? It's going to be pretty
That's right,
time intensive to really dive into
Uh-huh.
the newness, but I don't think we have a single teacher who really lives and works on an island, right? We work
Mhm.
together.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Everybody has the ability to
Mhm.
work together as a department, so they can divide and conquer, and we can support through really heavily through year one.
I just would mention, my most useful lifetime phys ed course was when I was in college. I took billiards
Yeah.
as a phys ed, and it was an 8 a.m. class. That I remember.
And you still took it. That's
And
impressive.
I got an A. I loved that course because it is something you could still use today.
And it's
different.
strategy. It's
It is.
yeah.
you had a
and
jump
it
on
was-
everybody
it
else
was
though from your
very
student council
difficult.
time,
It
Oh,
was
yeah.
incredibly difficult.
right?
Trajectory
And,
angles. all
The
that.
instructor, I mean, he was,
Rick, did you have a higher skill set than the others because of your student council days?
well, there was a lot of negotiating.
But yeah, in general, I think we appreciate your support. We appreciate the
sure.
feedback that you've provided. And we appreciate you being champions for the work that we do.
Thank you.
Excellent.
No,
Thank
this is
you. I'm
incredibly-
very pleased.
Yeah,
It-
where you've been in the last 3 years.
It's great work from your whole administrative.
Absolutely.
team.
The whole
And-
department
and
pitched
yeah,
in, right?
Dawn-
Progressive.
Yeah, Dawn will never toot his own horn, but Dawn is an incredible asset to this district and to an amazing department leader. He leads by example. He pushes people when they need to be pushed, and he knows exactly when to stop
Oh,
pushing.
congrats.
And he knows his people,
Oh,
and
exactly.
You want to be a
it's-
school board member?
That's That's okay.
not as an employee, maybe in retirement.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
But
The pay sucks, I can tell you.
But we get benefits.
the fringe benefits aren't
We
great
get
either, huh?
notepads.
But,
So do you get like a Caribbean vacation?
but I'd be remiss if I didn't
I appreciate that.
totally
That's very
give
true.
so
So
much
true.
credit to him.
So true, you're highly valued.
Thanks.
Um, Okay, so just a quick question for Megan, looking forward, what are some other curricular areas that we would be looking at next to bring forward to this committee in an approximate timeline?
Yeah, so I think we had this in a presentation, what was it, last month outlined, but science is what we're actively developing now. We are a really good chunk of the way through the K-6 process, and we're also simultaneously working on the 7-12 process. We would hope to bring that to you in the fall so that we can then develop some assessments and resources and things like that. We also have some updated business curriculum to bring.
No, that sounds fun.
Yeah, because of the alignment to CTC and the movement to CTC, there needed to be some changes. So we'll be looking to bring those changes probably within the next few months as well. And then
Does the CTC have its own board or own directing committee?
No, the
or
school
own-
board, the school board is the overseeing board for this, the Career and Technical Center. However, each program has an occupational advisory committee, which is made up of community members who may have worked or have active businesses or job experience in that particular thing. So for example, culinary arts would have particular restaurant owners or corporate chefs, or could be professors from the university, or anybody that has an occupational interest in that. The goal, those committees are required by PDE requirements to meet 2 times per year. And Kurt Lynch, as the director of the CTC, he's responsible for getting the occupational advisory committees established, their board approved by the Keystone Central Board annually. And then additionally, there are members from each of those occupational advisory committees who are participating in what's called a joint occupational committee. So all the programs that we have then join into reps from that go to that committee. And then they're responsible again for meeting twice a year. They do a review of programs. They do a review of the curriculum in each of those content areas and the task grids from PDE. They also make recommendations based on what's happening in industry or, key ideas that the occupational, they kind of give advisement to the teacher and to the director, who then brings them to me or to whatever, and when we have to make changes. A lot of what happens in CTC and their task grids are dictated by the state. And so there's not a lot of flexibility there until they change programming. And then there's NOCTA exams and OCTI. Those are the competency exams for the, and not every program has them, but if the state has them, our students take them. And that was part of the achievement report. And that was one of the areas, I think, of really great growth that you saw that across multiple years, we were in the 60% of the students taking it, somewhere in the 60% proficiency rate. Now we're in the 80 to higher 80s to 90%. And some of those overall, but some of those programs are better. So I think also the number of students in those programs has increased. And the number of students from Bucktail who are participating in Career and Technical Center programs has also increased annually since we've opened up the shuttle buses and the opportunities. And they didn't have to leave their home school to be a CTC. They have to come for instruction, but they're still a Bucktail student.
Sure. That's great.
So
great.
it's
Is
really
it that
wonderful.
overall committee for CTC, is there a school board person on that?
I don't think there is a school board person. That's not the intention of it, because the
Okay.
school board oversees all of the committees.
Sure.
I know that's been discussed before. Elizabeth has asked questions about that in the past, but I think that's consistent with what we've shared in the past. Any other questions from?
I'd like to see more co-curricular things, to be honest with you. You're the chair. I'm not on the committee, but we haven't had co-curricular for a while.
And tell me
What
what
are you
you're
talking
thinking
about?
about.
Co-curricular.
Well, we
We
used to
have a
always.
lot of, there's a lot of stuff that deals with co-curricular.
Can you give an example? What you
Well, we
like to
used to
see?
have like updates on, athletics and all the other things, the co-curricular items, everything that falls in co-curricular, that's all.
We haven't changed anything from what we've been doing.
Right.
You
Okay.
mean like school
Yeah.
activities?
Yeah,
And
updates or,
what I was talking about is the fact that, I mean, we just had a thing
Can you
where,
use the mic?
you know, no, I can't.
Sorry.
The, okay, the,
majorettes.
the majorettes, wrestling,
Yeah, we got the
basketball. I
girls-
mean, we got
the
all,
shooting
we
club.
had, yeah, all that. So we're getting the updates on co-curricular stuff.
It might just be a quiet
It's
time.
just,
I
yeah.
guess I'm wondering what type of updates are you seeking? Like what type of information or updates? Because what we've brought through the committee was the board gets participation rates, you get activity reports, you get participation reports quarterly.
Mhm.
And when we've had new clubs or activities, then we've kind of come through here before we've gone to the full board. So I guess if you want something that's just informational updates, I'd need to have some clarification about what that is.
Well, all right, well, one of them was the participation for athletics from last, when was, wait, we started. Right, March, so I guess you would say August through December. I mean, maybe we had that report. I don't remember.
I think it's the quarterly student activities report.
How
It
many-
goes
yeah,
on the board
number
agenda
of
for
kids that
information.
were in the JV, the varsity, you know, all of those.
We don't provide that detailed currently. It's just a student activities report. And the last time we looked at numbers of that was when we did an interest survey because there were some certain requests to add some activities. And so we looked at a deeper dive into the data so that we could support a recommendation. But that's not something that we would typically report out to this committee or to the full board unless it was requested. And I guess I would just ask, like, what's the need? What would be
To
the-
evaluate, you know, where we were from numbers last year, the year before, prior COVID. I don't know. I mean, it's just part of,
Mhm.
I don't know, I guess.
So the board would evaluate that?
I mean,
So
Why would they evaluate it?
Well, that's what I'm asking.
Well, okay. It would be nice to see some progress, or maybe we're at the same level, like, but for tennis, maybe the numbers are down, maybe the numbers are up. You know, just so we're informed.
Yeah, we monitor those administratively every year. And if we have any decisions that we don't have enough students or we think that something's declining, we've come forward to the board to say we are, and I think junior high baseball at Bucktail has been one of those things. We did have enough students this year and they're in season. So it was not something that we stopped, but we monitor them very closely every season, every year. And if we determine that there's any necessary changes or anything, we bring those recommendations to you.
Well, of course you do, but it'd be nice if we just were always informed, that's all.
Well, I don't think we need to nitpick and go into this really deep. I mean, honestly, if we are looking at doing something, okay, I think getting an overall big view of everything, getting the occasional, well, this is what's going on, or like at the beginning of the season, like what happened with Bucktail, where we weren't sure whether we were going to have a team or
Yeah.
not. That whole thing we were constantly getting updates on because that determines on whether there's going to be that team. But other things where
I
there
just
is
think it'd
no
be an
issues, I
interesting
mean, we don't.
report, that's all. That's okay,
Yeah.
never mind. We won't look at co-curricular. If the other board members aren't interested, they're not
Well,
interested. That's
I mean,
We've
okay.
had the
We
request
re-
before.
we
if there was-
appreciate your input, though.
Okay, anything else? No, anything else?
No, I have nothing.
Martin? Any comments or questions? Well, we
Martin,
were
could you
glad
hear
yeah,
Mr. Scholes?
We were glad you joined us tonight.
Student from Bucktail.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can hear you guys fine. I don't have any comments about it, although I do want to say about the outdoor activities that I think Mrs. Lynch brought up. We actually we have the space between the school and the river at Bucktail. We actually
Yes.
use that quite frequently for outdoor class activities. So I think if that were to be touched up a bit out there, that would be probably a great place to have a lot more like physical activities out there during our like PE classes and stuff.
Martin, if I may, no, I'm sorry, man.
Yeah.
Martin, I'm so pleased to hear that the school district owns quite a bit of streamside land on the West Branch, and it is a beautiful lot. And I'm not sure, but years and years ago, the biology teacher there, oh, I feel terrible, I don't remember her name. She used to have, they actually built an outdoor educational area, and then it changed and it became not as popular. But you're absolutely correct. It's a gold mine there. It's a beautiful piece of property. Beautiful. Excellent idea, Martin.
Okay. That it? Anything else?
Lori Henderson. Laura Henderson.
She retired.
Yeah,
So,
she was a great teacher. Great teacher.
well, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Oh, so we already went over the co-curricular.
There wasn't.
Yeah, there were 2 items
There
on
were 2
co-curricular.
items
co-curricular.
on here, the
I'll-
field trip and.
We went over the.
I'll
field
fill you
trip
in.
at the
Government
beginning.
plans.
It's all
Yes.
good. It's good
Okay,
stuff.
well,
You'll
I
like
mean,
it.
oh,
I'll fill
yeah,
you
I
in.
know,
You'll like it.
I already knew about it, but I just wanted to make sure that we talked.
No,
about
she
Yes,
did a
it.
we
good
So,
job.
did
There was
discuss.
support on that. And so I did add it while we were here. I added it to the board agenda, sent all board members an email about
We
it.
got all the information we needed.
And I sent it, yes, and I sent this to all the board members electronically.
Okay, all right,
Could I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion. Oh, you're the committee. I'm sorry.
yes,
Sorry.
motion.
We are adjourned, folks.
Good,
you.
Thank
all
you.
right,
Thank you, Mark.